Okay, we're back, and this is another video in my series on using basic effects and filters in a mixer, whether it's in an actual mixer like I have here, or it's in your post-processing where you've recorded your audio and then you want to apply some effects and some filters so that you can clean things up, get a better sound. And in this video, we're talking about what's called a noise gate. And a noise gate is essentially what we could call a type of expander, and it's got a roll-off. It's kind of like the audio equivalent of a high-pass filter or a low-pass filter. And what is that? Don't worry about it. I'll show you right now. So you could probably hear that there's some background sound, right? There's a little bit of hiss or some hum, and there's some, I can hear an airplane flying over. Now, what if I want to record something and I want to get rid of all that, and I want to have it cleaned up? You know, I want to clean up the sound, and I want to just let through the sound when I'm talking. But this background sound, I want that to go away, or I want to reduce it. I can use a noise gate. And it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a gate that is triggered, and it opens when there's a signal. And then when there's no signal, or the signal is very low, it shuts. And it shuts completely. So, or it can reduce the volume. We have options. Let's see. So I'm going to engage the noise gate right now over here, and you'll see what happens. The sound went away, but when I talk, you can hear me talk, but then there's no hum or hiss or anything happening. Isn't it like magic? So what we've got is a couple different settings. All you really need to know is where the threshold is. In other words, what's the softest sound or what's the loudest sound? Let me put it this way. What's the softest sound that's going to trigger the gate? It's going to open the gate. And over here, I have a threshold setting, and it's pretty much all the way down to almost zero right now. It's like at minus 60 or something, minus 50. But if I raise the threshold, what you'll hear is that my voice will get a little choppier, and I would even have to talk pretty loud, like if I'm going to talk quieter. But if I talk louder, it'll open. You guys catch that? You have to read lips. So this is not a reasonable threshold for my voice right now, but it might be a reasonable threshold for a trumpet section, or you know, a bass drum booms or cymbal crashes or something loud and sudden. You can also, now see, this is the problem with noise gates, is you have to set them appropriately, because it lets my voice through, but then if I take a breath, it's sort of on the edge, and now it makes all these weird choppy sounds. So I'm going to take this back down to almost zero. The other thing I can adjust here, this is the volume down here, what's called attenuation, and it's where the, I'm sorry, over here. It's where the volume goes down to when the gate's not open. In other words, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I could set up the noise gate, so I could say, okay, well, when it's not being triggered, just go down to, like, lower it like 20 dB. Like, don't shut it off completely. Just lower it way down. So let's see what that sounds like. So if I raise the attenuation level, okay, so I can still hear stuff in the room because the attenuation is very, very high. But if I lower it just a little, now it's kind of gotten rid of a lot of that stuff. I want to point your attention to the middle bar here, and it'll show you how much it's lowering that background sound, just what we call the ambient sound. So I'm going to raise it up, and now you hear everything. Watch the middle bar, this one right in the middle, and I'll start to lower that. So right there, it's pretty much off. But if I want more of a natural sound and I don't want to have all this kind of choppiness, I could put it up maybe right here. So it just kind of lowers it so you don't hear as much of that background. Okay, the only other settings on here, you've got attack and release, and those are here. And you can see if I move the attack and release, what that's doing is how quickly is the gate opening and how quickly is it closing. So if you want it to kick in right away, you have just an immediate attack. It's just gonna open, boom, really quick. And then on the release side, let me lower the attenuation so you can see this. On the release side, of course, now it's very fast, right? You can hear it just shutting. So what I might want to do is extend that really long so when it closes, it's like somebody's just turning the volume down, you know? And so that can be a lot more musical. These are all settings you can play with. So that's basically it. On the noise gate, I think you understand what it does, right? It's just whenever you don't have your main sound, it's just kind of closing things down a little bit, which will have the effect overall of cleaning up that track. It's going to reduce noise. And this really only comes into play perhaps when you have, let's say you want to record several things and mix them together, as we do with an album. I mean, sometimes you can have 48 tracks. Now imagine if you had, you know, a little bit of noise on 48 tracks. Now you've got a lot of noise. It's because it's cumulative. It just builds up, it adds up, it adds up. So engineers and sound mixers and people will take tracks and they will apply things like noise gates to clean up a mix. They will also use noise gates live. You can hear this. Next time you listen to AM radio or FM radio, see if you can hear, you know, the noise gate opening and closing. A lot of people use them for this reason, because we can clean up the sound right away. It doesn't always sound super natural. There is a cost, right? And so using any of these things, whether it's EQ or compressor limiters or noise gate, anything you're going to use, just use it sparingly. Try to use it musically and get your settings as best as you can. But a little, you know, a little bit of EQ, a little bit of compression, a little noise gate, just, you know, if you use it musically and you use it well, it's going to improve the quality of your recordings tremendously. All right. Thanks for watching. Do your own research. And most importantly, do what I just did. Get a mic, get a mixer, or you go to your computer and play around with these things and figure out how they work. What happens when you do this? What happens when you do that? That's the best way for you to get a handle on it. All right. Thanks for watching. Make sure you watch the other videos on EQ and compression.